you for attending today's ceremony and helping us celebrate the reopening of the Grand Army Hall. A special welcome is also extended to the Situate Board of Selectmen, John Danahy, Sean Harris, Rick Murray, Bill Norton, and Tony Bagnani. We appreciate your support and encouragement helping us to restore this most important landmark. Welcome to the members of the Situate Community Preservation Committee. Thank you for your support and guidance in gaining community preservation funding to help pay for this project. Welcome to representatives from the Situate Historical Commission and boards, commissions, committees, and attendants that have assisted us in our restoration efforts. There are too many to name, but please know we truly appreciate your help and cooperation. Finally, welcome to all invited guests here today. You are here because you have assisted the Society in so many different ways. Your help is greatly appreciated, and I thank you for coming. Well, the day has finally come to rededicate the Grand Army Hall. This building was constructed in 1825 by the Baptist Society as their first church. It's the oldest public building in Situate. This building has been home to many organizations: the Baptist Church, followed by Jenkins Hall, next home to the George W. Perry Post number 31 of the Republic, and Sons of Union Veterans. It represents the very social fabric of this community. In 1953, the town of Situate bought the hall. From that time until the early 1990s, it was used by many different community organizations, including the Situate Branch. And then, like many old, tired buildings owned by municipalities, it was in such poor condition the time came for a major decision: either undertake major repairs or demolish it. There was one other option, however, one that few towns opt for, but Situate did: sell it to an organization that had the determination to save it. In this case, the Situate Historical Society. And that's what happened. The Situate Historical Society took on the task of restoring this building. Its former glory. I remember very well the night 12 years ago when the trustees of the society voted to take on this task. The consensus was we couldn't let the hall go. We must save the hall. The vote was unanimous. As soon as it was taken, someone said, now we have to figure out a way to do the work. The trustees recognized it would be a huge task, but it would get done. And so we are here today. It did get done. I want to thank the trustees of the Historical Society for their support and vision as we move forward with this project. Over the last 2 years, when it was necessary to provide more funding to continue, they voted to provide it. Thank you, Trustee Chairwoman Betty Meisner, and Trustees Matt Brown, Tom Hall, Marshall Litchfield, Peter Levitt, Peter Whitfield, and Yvonne Toomey. A special thank you goes to the donors of the Grand Army Hall Restoration Fund. Your interest and donations made a big difference. A special thank you goes to Pam Martell, who donated her expertise in museum design, assisting us with all historical interpretive exhibits throughout the hall. The Society greatly appreciates the efforts of David Corbin. It was David who spearheaded the restoration effort. He knows every aspect of the history of this hall. Be sure to ask him lots of questions later. I also appreciate the dedicated work by the GAR Hall Committee. Those members were Carol Miles, Dr. Tom Serino, Matt Brown, Betty Meisner, and David Corbin. Finally, a special thank you goes to Maureen Upton, who has actively fundraised for the Society for over 30 years and designated her fundraising efforts for the hall restoration for the past 2 years. The total cost of this restoration was in excess of $350,000. When we approached the Situate Community Preservation Committee about seeking funds to finish the hall, they enthusiastically supported our request for $132,500, and the voters at the 2006 annual town meeting appropriated that amount. Without that assistance, we'd be still several years away from reopening this hall. A big thank you goes to the members of the Community Preservation Committee and especially the residents of the town of Situate. Grand Army Hall will now be available to town boards, community groups, and citizens interested in holding meetings and functions at Situate's oldest public building. A building that represents the history of this town so well. I would ask now if Maureen Upton would come up here. Maureen has been actively fundraising for the society, as I said, for over 30 years. And for the last 2 years, she asked that her efforts that she does for the society be designated to the restoration of this hall. I'm going to be presenting to her this plaque. It's found throughout the hall. It's a symbol of the Grand Army of the Republic. And on the back of the plaque it reads, "This plaque is presented to the Situate Historic Society in appreciation of her more than 30 years of dedicated fundraising for the Situate Historic Society and the fundraising efforts for the GAR Hall Restoration Fund 2007-2008, July 26, 2008. Thank you and enjoy the program.
In this program that you will receive, if you haven't already got it, you have more inside, it gives thanks to so many people that helped build this hall and help the Historical Society. But there's one special person that probably needs the applause of all of us and deserves it. That's David Ball, the president of the Historical Society. It is now my pleasure to introduce Representative Frank Hines, who will read a proclamation.
Matt, thank you very much, and David, thank you for those introductory remarks. I'm very pleased to be here and to offer my congratulations to all the folks, the trustees, the members of the society, and the members of the Situate community for their steadfast determination in restoring this building. It seems to me that many have said it, but it bears repeating, that no human society, no human community can sustain itself and continue unless it remembers its past. The defining moment in our history was the Civil War. When the Union men from the Civil War came home, they came back to communities, they came back to their ordinary jobs, but they could not forget life in the camps. And they could not forget the comradeship and companionship which had forged bonds between their army colleagues. And so they began, after the call of a gentleman from the Midwest, they began to form these posts where they could come together, share their experiences, and begin to form groups that would allow them to lobby government for better opportunities and better benefits for soldiers returning for more. We can hear those echoes today in these United States. They were truly responsible for health care for returning veterans, for adequate financial help for returning veterans, and other kinds of help to veterans of the Civil War. By the time the 1900s dawned, there were almost 500,000 members, and this membership was exclusive to those who had served in the Union Army. As they began to pass on, the sons of Union members were admitted. But by the 1940s and 50s, even those people were passing on. So throughout this land, what had been thousands of posts like this began to be abandoned. Situate ought to be commended for recognizing the historic legacy of these men and what this hall represents. And I congratulate you for recognizing that and for making sure that we do not forget, even many years later, the extraordinary sacrifices that people have made in order to afford us the opportunity to be here today in freedom. And if you want to think about sacrifice, I'm looking at these gentlemen who are outfitted in historic uniforms. Look at the wool on them. Can you imagine being on the fields of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and fighting that war, fighting that battle, in uniforms and in clothing like that, and then sustaining yourself without proper laundry and washing facilities throughout many, many weeks? That's just one of the sacrifices, it seems to me, that people have made in order to give us the opportunity to be here. I'm proud to present to David Ball, the president of the Historical Society, this citation from the Massachusetts House, which recognizes the rededication of the George W. Perry Post, number 31, Grand Army of the Republic Hall. Congratulations.
I'd like to introduce now Captain Patrick Brown, commanding the 22nd Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry, who will participate in the flag raising.
Attention! Mary O'Brien, post the colors. Company, shoulder, march. Reset! Up! Shoulder! Up! Order! Up! Fix! Bayonet! Hooray! Rest!
I'd like to now introduce Senator Bob Hedlund, who will read a proclamation.
Thank you, Matt. And I'll be very brief because it appears as though this ceremony is moving rather brisk and military-like precision. I apologize for my tardiness, but I did want to be here today. I would note also that Representative Bradley called me and asked to send his regards along. He's unable to attend today, but wishes everybody well. I'm just here simply to commend everybody that made today's event possible, the work that went in restoring this wonderful building. I have not had the opportunity to ever be inside this building, but this does come on the heels of the restoration of the GAR Hall in Hingham, which I played a small role in, and felt very proud to be involved in that. I had some exposure to that building growing up in the town of Hingham. Attended many events there as a youth. Later, as this building has a similar history. So, my congratulations to everybody involved in this restoration and this work in keeping this building and restoring it, and of course the Scituate Historic Society and everybody else that has been involved through the decades here in Scituate, preserving Scituate's heritage, preserving Scituate's past. We do a great job of that. It's one of the things that makes Scituate the great town that it does. since I spoke a little bit too long, I won't read the entire citation, but I would like to present it to everybody involved, maybe through Dave, if you would come up here. This does extend congratulations and best wishes to the Situate Historical Society in recognition of the opening and rededication of the George W. Perry Post-31 Grand Army of the Republic of Bob, offered by myself, State Senator Robert Hedlund, July 26, 2008. Congratulations.
I'd like to introduce Miss Mackenzie Curran, who will sing the national anthem.
Attention, coming. Shoulder.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed twilight's last whose bright stars through the perilous fight? Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly, and the rocket's red glare, the most bursting in air, gave proof through the night that on the land of oh, say does that star-spangled banner for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Mackenzie. I'd like to introduce now Reverend Stephen Trimble of the First Baptist Church, North Situate, for the invocation.
It is a privilege to be here this morning, a privilege to be with all of you this morning. But I do have a little secret to share with all of you. When Dr. Serino asked me some months ago to offer the invocation this morning, I was a little hesitant because my great uncle was a Confederate general at Gettysburg, Isaac Ridgway Trimble. So I'm still a little hesitant because of these guys over here. So I'm going to make my invocation quick so I can kind of skedaddle back to camp. But let's offer a word of thanksgiving. God, we thank you for yet another beautiful day here in Situate, Massachusetts. We thank you that your Holy Spirit is present in our world, and we ask that you encourage us to seek his guidance and his presence. We ask that you continue to remind us of the love of your Son, Jesus Christ, in all of our lives, and may we continue to call upon him in times of need and in times of thanksgiving. We thank you, Lord, for the determination and faith of all people who have come through this town and its history. And may we continue to find ways to serve you through Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, in whose name we always pray. Amen.
Now, Mr. David Curran, Mr. David Corbin, the GAR Hall Preservation.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning, everybody. In a community that recognizes and cherishes its stories, this occasion will certainly be long remembered and assume its rightful place alongside the efforts of those before us that have ensured that landmarks need not disappear. In many ways, the building before us today has been the ultimate challenge to those involved. No preservation project before ever needed so much care and attention, yet never before did such a project offer so much in the realm of possibilities. It was as if this venerable relic of Scituate's distant past, whose foundations laid and beams placed, yet three signers of the Declaration of Independence still lived, saw us as its last hope to serve this community into its third century. Perhaps it's been for the best that planning and funding this project has taken over 10 years. Caution has been the watchword. By doing so, we developed a methodical approach that flourished under the enthusiastic guidance of our general contractor, who shared our concern, but more importantly, our vision that we were uncovering history and bringing it back for all to see. With each phase of work, a building long shuttered spoke to us. Physical evidence of what was came to light, what earlier could only be gathered from old newspaper clippings and fading personal recollections. As our 21st century emerged, the 19th century was never far away, reaching out of the past and tapping us on the shoulder, reminding us that its vestiges remain and are here all around us. Here, above us, a window frame, discovered within a wall, its glass long gone, beckons us to look through and imagine a landscape spanning 183 years. Farmland, a chapel. The dance hall, the Veterans Post to community building. A structure that has witnessed our national drama unfold. History is about change, and change we have. And despite those changes, which surely are inevitable, this building and the past it represents is here for us today. We grasp our past in the hopes that its lessons will temper our future. This building has long served this community, and we are here today to celebrate its return to the people of Scituate. We have done well. And those who pass through its doors will see and feel the fruits of the efforts done here. May this wonderful old hall go on and serve our community well and add to the memories for many generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome back to you Scituate's Grand Army of Republic Hall. Thank you.
Who will read Lincoln's Gettysburg Address.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great struggle, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives, that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggle here have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little know nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did. It is for us, the living rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from those honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not die in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
The 22nd Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry. Patrick Brown, commanding.
Attention, company. Shoulder. Up. Left wheel. Up. Company. Halt. Right. Direct. Front. Load. Second Massachusetts, firing 3 rounds in salute to the Grand Army of the Republic, Situate Post 31. Ready! Hey! Stop! Load! Ready! Hey! Fire! Load! Ready! Hey! Fire! Recover! Arm! Shoulder! Arm! Freeze and arm! Shoulder! Arm! Shoulder! Arm! Hurry! Rest!
Thank you, Captain Brown. I'd like to introduce Rob O'Brien, who will read a letter from Jeff Litchfield, a great-great-great-grandson of a Civil War veteran. Good afternoon.
I'd like to say that this is really an honor for me to be able to read this letter. Jeff is a very good friend of mine, an incredible historian, and a great guy all around. And he couldn't be here today, and he is so wanted to be here, but down south actually. And I can't help but think that how great it is after all these years that a brother in arms, his letter from down south is being read here today. So as a member of the SUV, and also a member of the Mass 22nd, it's a great honor that I read Jeff's letter. Greetings, good people of Scituate, friends, and relatives. It is with my deepest regret that I could not be here today at the rededication of the Scituate's GAR Hall. I just wanted to say a few words. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the people responsible for rescuing this historic building. Without the tireless efforts of David Corbin, David Ball, and so many others, this important building in all likelihood would have been demolished. Secondly, I would like to thank all of the Civil War reenactors for coming out and paying tribute to all of the Civil War veterans that gathered at this grand old hall so many years ago. Veterans used this hall to honor their fallen comrades, many that were still left on the battlefields where they fell, as were the many that were brought back to Scituate to be buried. In peacetime, they were friends. In war, they were brothers, and in death, they became heroes. These brave soldiers were volunteers, nothing more than common townsfolk, farmers, townspeople, fishermen that were called upon in their country's time of need. They willingly sacrificed their hopes, their aspirations, and their lives so that we might enjoy the freedoms that we have today. If you have a moment, visit some Scituate cemeteries or any others on the South Shore, and you will see that these towns paid a heavy price in human life to reunite this country and make it as great as it is today. Today, we, as reenactors and living historians, are a direct link to the GAR veterans that use these grand buildings. It is our way to honor all of the American soldiers and all of the wars. It is also a way to remind the public that freedom is real. It comes at a terrible price and sacrifice. My own family's history, the Litchfields, and my mother's, the Newcombs, have a long connection to the town of Scituate dating back to the 1600s. I feel that connection every time I go into an old building in Scituate or visit one of the town's cemeteries. Thank you so much for saving a building my family was a part of. When my time here on earth is done and I am asked to join the ranks of my ancestors, I can think of no greater honor than to be remembered as a caring and devoted father, a loving husband, and that I was buried in the town of Scituate, Massachusetts, home of my ancestors. Thank you very much, Jeffrey Litchfield, and he signs off, death for an honorable life, motto of the Massachusetts 43rd Volunteer Infantry Regiment of my great-great-grandfather, Otis Litchfield, buried at Mount Hope Cemetery, west end of Scituate. Thank you very much.
Finally, I'd like to introduce Dean Sargent, representing the sons of the Union veterans of the Civil War, who will make a presentation.
I'm here representing Camp 50 Rock, so it's a food. What I'd like to give you is a copy of the original members of the Sons of Veterans. I'm state historian for the Department of Massachusetts for the Sons, and I do this kind of thing all over the place. It's kind of fun. Also give you a bullet on fire. And lastly, see how easy that was? Best
Wish I could have a head.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean. I'd like to thank our bugler, Stuart Foltz, who did a fine job, and after when he completes his final piece, the retreat, we'd like to invite everyone to join us inside so that you can inspect the building and have a bite to eat. Thank you very much for coming. The grandson of Scituate's last surviving Civil War veteran, who will participate in the ceremonial cutting of the entrance ribbon.